I tend to record a whole lot more than we need, but that's okay, too. So,
I'm sure I'll ramble.
Have you ever listened to my podcast at all?
No, not a one.
I didn't think so. But when we have conversations, it tends to be somewhat like an interview. It's us teaching each other, so I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I realized we haven't called each other in a really long time, like years. It's always been through Snapchat or Facebook or something else. But the last time you called me, I was going through my contacts, and you're in my phone as Josh will come.
In what sense? Like I will come to the rescue, or I will, let it go.
But that's who you were to me. You were my, hey dude, I need you. I'll be there in 10. That's who you were. So it was a benefit, but also like a jerk off moment, I think.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, we all got jerk off moments in our life.
It was kind of fantastic. Because I was trying to think, I happened to go through my contacts, I was cleaning my phone up, because there's so many people over here, I'm like, who the fuck is that even? I don't know who the fuck this is. Some random tour manager from like 99 is still in my fucking phone because I've had my Gmail that fucking long.
Oh yeah, I've got numbers in my phone that...
Yeah.
I'll hit them up every once in a while too. It'd be like a year ago, I'd be like, hey, how's it going? Like, just picking up like where we left off.
I have fucking around accidentally called people that I should not call. Like, musicians or...
Been there.
Yeah, like I called Afro Man one night at random.
Hey.
Because I have his number. Because he called me all stoned one night, which was fantastic when he played here.
Nothing better.
He got lost. He was high as shit. We talked about it. He's like, dude, keep my number. You're funny. And I did. And then I accidentally called him one night. I felt like a shit. It was like 3:30 in the morning. I have no idea where in the country world he was, but he answered and hung up promptly. So I always kind of felt bad.
Somewhere beautiful, I
call back like, hey, I kind of called you on accident. Sorry. But I've called people that like tour managers that are on the other side of the planet. Like I think they're in LA or New York, and they're in like Australia. Time zones don't register with me. So yeah, so I was going through, and I was trying to think, but I entered your phone into my phone 7 years ago, I think.
It's a good grip of time.
Yeah. Before I even really knew you, I think I had your phone number as this is a guy you can call. And I think Pinner gave it to me.
Oh, fucking Chad.
Yeah, so 6 or 7 years ago that I put it in, and I was like, Jesus, how did I do that? Because some of this shit's from like the AOL days that translated into my Gmail, and some of it's from my other phones. But yeah, I cut like 500 names out, and I've still got over 1,000.
Over here just reminiscing about Pinner right now.
Why do I feel like that went porno?
It could have.
It could have.
It could have.
Dude, I called him Lionel. Because his beard always stuck straight out. He was
it never grew down, just out.
Out.
It's beautiful.
He was
like a reverse...
He was a dwarf, but like backwards. It was weird, but I liked it.
Like a reverse Leonidas, There
we go. Yeah, I dug it. I haven't seen him in a long time. Last time I saw him, he was real good.
Well, it's good to hear.
Yeah. I haven't seen a lot of those guys.
I
was talking to Sorg about that. We haven't talked to a lot of those guys in forever. Basically, when Sabrosa closed, I just lost contact with everybody other than, like, Judah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I could go see Judah at Quincy's, but other than that, I didn't know where anybody was.
I mean, all those guys, I would only ever see them really when I went downtown.
Right.
That's where our biggest relationship formed. So,
yeah.
And when I stopped kind of frequenting downtown as much as I used to, those relationships kind of went with it, fortunately.
Well,
some of them survived, I mean.
Yeah. Well, obviously, but ours was tied to music.
True.
More than anything else. We started talking music, and I think that's always come back to it, because you're one of the few people around here that I can sit and listen to music with, where you can show me something that I haven't heard or I don't know, and I'm like, oh, thank God. Because it's my biggest complaint about like beginning Grand Junction. I feel culturally starved all the time.
I feel that.
It's hard, like when you hear the guys like, well, shit, you showed me 3 new albums I didn't even know were out the last time you were here.
Hey.
And I was like, fuck, and they were in rotation, adding them to playlists and stuff. I was like, fuck yes, thank you.
Speaking of that, have you heard of I Built the Sky?
Yes.
Australian instrumentalist?
Yes.
Real good.
Actually, they came up on my Pandora. I still use Pandora because I was listening to a bunch of Pelican and Isis and things like. Dude, I like when I can make it random.
Oh, for sure.
Lots of times it just plays my like tracks and things I've done over the years, but every once in a while I have this one channel called Poker Radio that is this really stupid mix of like backpack rap and almost industrial and really good instrumental post-metal. like really good, like Pelican.
That's a big spectrum, man.
It is. But
I can dig it though.
But the thing is when we would have those big poker parties at my house up in Rifle Rulison, like there'd be 45, 50 people with massively different musical tastes.
Oh yeah.
And there's that many people spending money and drinking. Like, I mean, there were times where we had 3, 4 tables going, full tables of 8, 9, 10.
Not bad.
And, dude, thousands of dollars when we would do poker nights, and we would make dinner, and it was an event. And so I look at those nights, and I look at those things, and I created that way back when, and we're talking, that's like 11, 12 years ago I created that playlist originally, and every 6 months or so I add a couple things. And I built this guy came up not long ago. I was here, and I've only been here for 2 months. And it came up, I was actually working on a harness, and I rolled over because I wanted to.
I think the last one that I saw on your Snapchat, very nice.
I just the one hanging on the edge on there. Yeah, that's actually, people don't know about my harnesses. I started doing the harnesses in like 99, 2000. I was doing a lot of leather and things like that.
Before my time.
I really got into it as I was getting into kind of I was a late bloomer. Not for lack of trying. I tried to get laid, but I looked like Shrek, so it didn't work.
You're beautiful. Don't ever let anybody tell you different.
I'm beautiful to people who like toads or lizards. It's very odd. For people who don't know me, who don't
You know how
see
many
me
chicks
first,
are into reptiles, man? It's crazy.
That's true. I mean, but it's the number of people who, if they talk to me first, there's an attraction. But like my last major relationship, we talked for 5 months before she was like, "All right, I'm gonna video chat you because I don't know what the fuck you look like,
Ooh.
and if you don't answer, I'm never talking to you again." And I was like,
What an ultimatum.
Yeah, dude, it was terrifying. I was terrified. I didn't like that at all. But it was one of those moments where I'm like, fuck, I've never actually been in this position. Like, I don't meet people online. I don't do dating and stuff like that. But we've been friends, and it was developing into something else. So she's like, all right, I gotta know. She found me attractive because she was already attracted to my voice, which this podcast has taught me. There's some freaks.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's some people that
they're out there.
Oh, they crank up my voice and do stuff, and they'll tell me, hey, yeah, totally like play your podcast while I get laid. I'm like, why would you do that?
I would take that as the biggest compliment, though.
No, it is. I really do. Like, when people hear me sing and they're like, what the fuck was that? Like, that was so hot. I'm like, I'm not good, so I love that. Like, that kind of stuff. So I get how attraction isn't just physical. Even physical attraction isn't just eyesight. It's beyond that. Some people smell good to me, and I'm just like, oh.
Dude, I had a girl who dated me for 7 months solely off of the fact that I have what's called a swoop in my nose bone structure.
You do have a nice profile.
Thank you.
Sure. So it's weird. So
it's weird. For sure.
I was a very late bloomer. I didn't do a lot of experimenting until I was really in my senior year of high school, and it was a great girl that I'm still really good friends. I'm friends with all of my exes but one, which blows my mind.
Friends with most, I think.
I mean, all.
I like to think I am.
I am.
Maybe in their mind, not so much.
I talked to 3 of them yesterday alone, and one more today.
Nice.
Like I actually, like, we keep up, we talk, we check on stuff. So that's actually really cool.
That's very cool.
I dig the fuck out of that. So that being said, like, she was very into, like, I don't want to say she was vanilla or anything either. She was like, let's try something. She liked exhibitionism.
Ooh.
She liked some different things like that. I really enjoyed that. She was fun. We did a lot of manual stuff, but we were both virgins. And we did lose our virginity to each other, but it was like way into the relationship, like 2.5 years in the relationship. So I was like 20 when late 19, almost 20 when I lost my virginity.
Whoa.
But
I can relate to that.
in my head, because of the way my art works, the music, the experiences, going touring concerts, things like that, I had seen some shit.
Sure.
And I had talked to some shit, and of course wanting to be a journalist and then getting into art photography and getting into things like that. I really genuinely discovered that I had an affinity for the BDSM, S&M side of things. Back then it was S&M, and now it's BDSM.
Right.
And so I started doing leather work, I started doing stuff, just kind of like rich people in Aspen would be like, make me a couple wristbands for a punk show, and then
sure.
it turned into harnesses and masks and things like that. And then when I started realizing here when I was in machinery cell that I liked wearing masks myself, like I like the half mask look. I like I wore them a lot. And it turned into, like when I came down here, I stopped wearing masks. That's why when the pandemic hit, people were like, we gotta wear masks. I'm like, it's my time. It's my time. I am so in for this. Like, I literally looked at my wall and I've got 30 fucking choices. Respirators and shit that I've modded over the years. So I was excited.
Totally.
And I've made some really cool shit. I made a bunch of bondage masks with a zipper and an inside filter so people could still do karaoke and sing and be safe, but look like they were the Gimp from fucking from fucking Pulp Fiction.
Oof. What a suit.
Yeah, I mean,
what a scene.
Yeah, it's just, I loved it. I love that thing. And so the harnesses that I do now as part of the clothing line, because I started the clothing line with David, that owned Caesar Revolution.
Oh, right.
It was his
yeah.
It was his idea. He was like, "You're photography. We do this. We do that." He taught me some new design styles, and I loved working with him. And early on, that's what it was. We had 2, 3, 4 designs, but he and I never could. Like, I would be like, "Let's do this." He goes, "No, we can't. I don't like that. It's the aesthetics off, or it's not our style, or it's not this." And then it never went anywhere. It just petered out. So a couple years ago, when I started realizing that I had a vision of certain garments that I wanted models to wear in images I wanted to shoot for me, for my books or for stories or something I just saw, and I was like, fuck, I could do this. So I did more research. Obviously I want to go vegan, I want to go hypoallergenic. I'm much more conscious now, and I'm not as much into the punk scene and the spiked collars and things like that. I'll still do them.
Sure.
I do a lot of custom work. I made probably 15 custom masks. I'm doing 2 right now for a buddy of mine. I actually need to get them finished and shipped this week. I love that stuff, but for me, it's inspired by someone. I'll see something, and it's weird. Like when you're just like driving along, I'm 100% certain you do this. You'll be driving, and there will be a rhythm on the road, and suddenly you'll have a guitar riff in your head.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I feel you there.
Imagine that in a visual.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I just have a visual, and it's like being smacked in the brain. All these harnesses are designed off of a specific person. It's an image I have of them in my head.
Like specifically their facial structure, or just
some
like
of it's facial structure, some of it's their attitude, some of it like.
I can definitely see attitude.
The first one I did was the Aries, and the Aries I've never told anybody this. This is interesting.
Ooh, look at me.
The Aries was actually designed after my last major relationship. And to be honest with you, I owe her some money. I'll get into that in a minute. But that set is a chain set that goes around the throat and locks in the front. 2 real strong straps down the front, and then this just like rib cage cut. It's a halter setup. It's very simple, but it's very strong. It's very prominent. And it's when I realized I loved this woman, that I actually want to spend the rest of my life with her. And I said, she knows that. Everybody I think knows that. I really had intended to marry and be with her. Billion reasons why that was a bad idea. I will say that. More for her than me. But billions of reasons why that was a bad idea. And yet, I still look at it and go, she's an Aries. And this just said Aries to me. This said, this is what you want to do. This is who you should be. And I really took that to heart. And so that was what came to me. I decided with that first one, and then the second one, which is this 5-pointed, it's a trip how I came up with that one. It was actually designed off of 4 different models. So this is the one that I'm like, I can't credit somebody with that one. I can't just give that to somebody. I can't be like, this is yours. I'm sorry, this is yours. This is how it will be. I can't do it. I want to, but that's the one that I feel kind of bad about because I sell most of it, and I don't know who to give the money to.
Fair.
But I take 50% of all the profit from any harness that I build or any set that I build inspired by that person, and I give it to that model.
It's very cool.
Don't have to do shit for it. It's there. They inspired it. It wouldn't exist without them. I do the same with my prints. If I sell a print, 50% of my profit goes to the mall. The shirts that I print that have different 50% of profit. I wish I could say it was 50% of sale price, but I have to do 50% of profit or I'd be real broke.
True.
Because my shit's not cheap.
I imagine not.
I mean, my average harness is $90 to put in just a harness, like a full set's $150, $160. That's what I sell them for, but $90 of that is cost.
True.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, that harness alone that I put on Snap the other night, there's 64 rivets, and they're black rivets. So there's 64 black rivets in that. That's 2.5 boxes of rivets. And the rivets are $4 to $5 a box. So just in rivets, there's $15 in that. That's just the rivets. That's not the straps. That's not the cuts. That's not any of the time. That's not any of the steel rings or any of that. Just the rivets. Yeah. But that's why I do it that way. And I do. I like being inspired. The thing that's getting weird is I have 2 that are inspired by kind of semi-celebrities. And I don't know how I'm going to play this, because I'm not the guy who's like, hey, this is inspired by you, make me famous. I don't want that. I've actually contacted one girl's agent and talked about how we do it. And he's like, this is interesting. I don't know how to do this either, but let me noodle on it. He's really cool. I don't know if you're not really on TikTok or anything, but Olivia Ponton became this really big TikTok star, and then now big on Instagram, and now a really big model. Like, covers some magazines, doing some makeup lines. She's got, like, Boohoo does some stuff with her. She's got her own clothing divisions. Like, she's killing it. This girl will post on Snapchat and Instagram when she's got her zit cream on, when she's feeling like she's nobody, like she's nothing, when her hair's fucked up, when she's going through something emotionally. She's so honest. She's not a model. She's a personality.
I feel like that's so much more important, too, in that field. Because, I mean, it brings out so much more of your real, true self, you know?
Modeling changed so much because of social media.
Oh, good.
Facebook just changed the whole game. Porn changed the porn industry, too, massively. And people don't realize that. They don't accept or understand that these things were... I think I sent you the post. I don't know if I did or not, because I thought you were coming home and I didn't know what time you were awake. But it literally, like, this was our search for porn in the 90s, and it was a kitchen counter and under the mattress, and it was at the top of the closet. Like, that's how you went and looked for porn. That was your porn search.
One of my favorite memes is, like, if you wanted to see a picture of a raccoon, like, 20 years ago, you had to go to a library.
Yeah,
go
see it.
Encyclopedias. And if you wanted to see a picture of a raccoon in a party hat, forget about it.
Yeah,
you know,
it
didn't exist.
Yeah, no, it didn't. And now, type it. There's 4,000 of them.
Absolutely.
You could scroll for 30 minutes, going, well, that party hat's got. I don't like. Let's use this one. Can we Photoshop so that it's red? You know,
more of the green one with the fringes.
Yeah. I like the one with the tutu though. Well, we could put them together in the same picture. We get best of both worlds. You can do that shit now.
No, absolutely.
That didn't exist. When I told my son the first time I was older than the internet, he didn't move for like 30 minutes. He just sat and looked at me at the kitchen table and tried to wrap his head around that. When I go places, people go nuts because I don't use my GPS. I don't use destination. I know how to fucking get there.
It's always funny, like, I'll go with friends to Denver. Like, from here to Denver, right? And they'll have to bring up their GPS. I'm like, why?
Get on I-70, turn right, go through the mountains, Denver.
You can't miss it.
You could go to Philly.
Yeah. Like,
get on I-70, take a right, keep going.
Yeah, like...
Philadelphia.
It's incredible, like... Because I've spent so much time doing wilderness stuff that, like... It's so second nature to me, like navigation, like navigating through any means. You know, there's multiple means to figure out what direction is which, and you know, like I'll meet some of these people who are just like, which way is north? And I'm just sitting there like, what?
My favorite is people like, I'm so feng shui. You go in their apartment like, bitch, you're fucking backwards. That's north. Because I'm big on it in buildings. And so when I was in jail, I don't know why that bothered me so much, but I had to know where everything was outside since I couldn't see it. So I have to figure out, okay, that's the Mason, that's so brass. I have to figure that out or I don't feel right.
Fair.
I don't feel human. And being institutionalized, I already have an issue with that. I already have like, I don't like this. I don't like this concept of being locked away. Fuck you. So that being said, the game changing as much as it has because of social media, and like I hate they used to call it a news feed because people thought it was news.
Oof.
Just because it's on there doesn't mean it's real. I've probably said that on this podcast 20 times, and yet people still like,
I'll say 20 more.
How are you still down on Facebook, man? Here's the thing. Last January, February, I stopped scrolling on Facebook. When I log into Facebook, I go directly to my business pages or whatever. That's what I do. I don't go scroll through and see drama. I don't fucking go on and respond to a bunch of people. I don't make comments. I've got 20 to 25 people that I want to see what they're up to, and I have them at the top. So if one of them pops up, I'll look at that one at a time. I don't scroll beyond the first post.
I think I'm one of the few people who still use Facebook for what it was still originally intended for. Like, I'll use it to... True. I'll use it to... I mean, mostly.
Yeah.
I to look up on some of my friends, you know.
Yeah.
I grew up in a different state, you know.
Yeah.
I've lived all over. And I've made a lot of good friends in those places. And, you know, I'll look them up. Like, as soon as I get on Facebook, I'll type their name in, and I'll look at pictures that they posted recently. And then I'll message them, like, hey, man, how was that?
No,
you know, and start that dialogue.
It's those people that I still check up on, or I send messages to make sure, like, so music people, friends of mine, people like that. There's 20, 25 that I keep up top, and then there's people, that's exactly it. Like, I don't have a lot of family, and it used to be Facebook that I kept in touch with my sister. Now it's Instagram, because she's a visual artist, I do all of it, so we trade most of our information, we send links and stuff through Instagram, or we text. But I'm still one of those people, like, I will call people to check out on them.
Oh, yeah.
And people think I had the best conversation with the girl who inspired that set right there. I called her when I was in Denver a few weeks back. She was really freaking out about her car and some other stuff. And I called just to say, hey, don't spend that money. Let's look at it, see what we do. Let's say this part, this, that, and the other. I think they're trying to steal from you, basically.
Sure.
I said, I don't want to second guess. I mean, some mechanics are really reputable, but you talked to two, and they gave you very different prices, and both of them seem really high. I don't like any of this. Let's talk. And we talked for a few minutes, and then it got, I forget why it's fun to talk to you, because you actually, like, you're not trying to fix me. You're not trying to tell me what to do. You're like, let's look at options so you have something other than, oh my God, I need $4,000. You calmed me down and have me thinking about, okay, there's other options. And I do that with people because that's how I am. Like, I knew my daughter had celiac disease. I had self-diagnosed it. We had kind of proven it through treatment and changing out her food and her diet. She did better. I knew it. When we went and got the biopsy in Denver and they confirmed it, on the drive home, it was about Vail Pass before I stopped going, my daughter's going to starve. And I realized, French fries, baked potatoes, corn chips, fucking vegetables, fruit, and it took that long for me
Sure.
to, I am an idiot. There's so much that does not believe me.
There's a lot.
Out. But it took me an hour and a half of that drive, already knowing, before my brain went, fuck ass, think.
That's still hard news to hear.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
for sure, especially coming from a medical professional, because, I mean, even though you told yourself over and over and over again, this is what it is, I know this is what it is, hearing the man say it to you,
Yeah.
that's when it hits. That's when it hits home.
No, absolutely. And it was hard. That's what I do with people. I don't try to fix anyone. Somebody calls me for help. I help them.
Please tell me no if I can't.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Can I? Okay.
Yeah. I got the door open and everything. So, no, it was just one of those where I really didn't know. I don't know how to help anybody except to kind of help them find their way. Because you can always go to just do this. And most of the people I know, they're assholes. They'll ask a question, I'll give them advice, they don't use it. Okay, cool. You know what? You don't want to use it, you don't have to. That's fine.
I think the most important way we as a society grows is by learning from others, is by hearing people out for their opinions, you know. And I've been in a supervisory role for a while now, you know, for a few years. It's not a while, but I guess in my time span, that's a while.
Going on a 30-year lifespan.
True.
That's substantial.
I agree, you know.
Yeah. So, you have to listen to people. You have to understand that not everybody's going to have the same take. They're not going to have the same ideas. You have to do that. I've done that as a boss. I've done that as an employee. I've done that as a friend. That's been my key. And we ended up talking for 2.5 hours. I stood on the phone with this girl. And finally I was like, I'm going to have to hang up with you or we're going to talk all night. And she's like, I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh my God. It was random. It was just all over the place, talking about all sorts of things. And she's a person who she is down on herself. She does not feel like she's doing well. And she inspires me every single fucking day. Every single day, she inspires me.
It's good people to keep around.
Yeah. And I check up on her, and sometimes she doesn't even respond for days. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, nah, fuck that. I have friends that I don't talk to for months. But when we start talking, it's like we just spoke yesterday. Mm-hmm. You are one of those people. We will not talk for a year. And then it'll be a random, hey man, I was thinking this. Fuck yeah, let's do it. Like, there are those people that you just experience that with, and you live that life with. And when those people inspire things and they teach me stuff, like I keep in touch with them on Snapchat, or I keep in touch with them on, random, there's different ways I talk to everybody. But you find that's what Facebook, that's what Twitter, that's what these things were originally intended for, was communication.
Sure.
Not, this is what I'm eating, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm drinking. I'm self-important.
And I think a lot of it too is, I found myself when I was just scrolling through, I found myself being the most internally deprived and depressed.
Yeah.
Because I would see other people, living their lives.
You get jealous, or you get upset. Why don't I
absolutely,
have that?
I'll just get
or get down on yourself.
Absolutely, why don't I have that? It'll be my friends who are maybe younger than me, just bought a brand new truck or something like that. It's just like.
Well, the number of times how many people have looked at you and been like, "Fuck, why do you have what you have?" And of course,
I never think that way.
I know you know, but I mean, the thing, of course, my brain goes, "You're a fucking engineer. Like, you're intelligent. You've been a boss. You know this stuff. You are these things. I know why you have what you have. It makes
you know more than me.
but that's just it. Is while you look at yourself like, why am I not? Why am I not? I'm looking at you like, God damn, I'm proud. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud to know what you do.
Oh,
and whereas you probably see that glass ceiling. And I talk about that a lot. When people get to the glass ceiling and they're like, fuck, I don't know where I can go from here. I don't know if I can get better than this. What do I do? Do I jump to another ladder? Do I break through the glass? What do I do? What do I do? Nobody ever goes, holy fuck, I've come a long way. That's a long way down from where I started.
That's a good perspective. I dig that.
Nobody does that. And everybody looks at the other ladder. Well, that ladder's taller. That ladder's easier to climb. That's a fucking escalator, you fucking bitch.
My whole life, I feel like, has been chutes and ladders, especially this last couple years. Especially when the pandemic hit, I took a big pay cut. I started dipping more into my savings. And that's when I kind of had to realize for myself, like, okay, what other skill sets do I have? And that's why I got a hold of my good buddy Joe Barton, owns Shieldstone. And, he was more than happy to be like, hey, man, spend 20 days on a mountain. I'll make up for everything you lost this past 4 months.
And I
said, okay.
Like, you were almost a cop.
Funny how the turns table. I was right there too.
No,
man.
days away.
I was a day away.
I didn't realize it was a day. I knew it was close.
I was that next day. I was going to go in for, because I'd already done my evaluation.
Yeah.
I'd already done my big questionnaire. They asked me what kind of drugs I've done. Good times. And all that kind of stuff, They gave me the tour of the building and all that jazz, and I shook a bunch of people's hands and said, "Hey, I'll see you in 2 weeks."
And then that's the part of that is when you told me, well, I just made a career change. I'm like, you just made what? I was very confused. I won't lie, but I loved it. I fucking loved every moment of it because I think that's what makes people interesting. That's what makes people fun. And yeah, so you went from almost being a cop to, you're back in the oil industry now. And I don't know. What I saw, like I say, watching you the last few days, like that day in your truck, man, you looked haggard.
Oh yeah, that was after 28 hours straight. Because I'd worked from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, and then they asked me. Well, this is a whole nother story. Our night supervisor had gotten fired. So they asked me, hey, can you please, you can nap in your truck. You can get a couple hours of sleep when we're on our downtime. Yeah, just make sure, just keep your radio all the way up, so we can yell at you till you wake up. And I'm a light sleeper when I'm in my truck because I'm in that mindset of like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep, but my ear's open to when I hear that sound,
Yeah, I got you.
So, I maybe got a couple hours of sleep during some downtime. But it wasn't really sleep. It was more just kind of closed my eyes and was like, oh, this is nice,
My eyes aren't burning for a moment.
Yeah, straight up. And yeah, I worked that entire night, and Joe, he came from the office up to the mountain, and he took me out to pizza at the New York pizzeria in Carbondale.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious.
No, it's fantastic.
I mean, it could have been utter dog shit.
Oh, it would have been cardboard with ketchup on it. You'd have been
but
happy.
To me, it was the best pizza I ever had in my life.
No, it is legitimately good though. I will say that.
I agree.
Yeah.
But
sponsor me.
But no, like it's weird going from, working as a quality control engineer for a major defense and aerospace firm, sitting at a desk staring at, an airplane part for 8 hours a day, clocking out. Mm-hmm. Done. Easy peasy. Did that 4 days a week. On Thursdays, I'd work at 12, so I get my 40 hours.
There you go.
And that's just kind of how I like to do it. And after that 12 hours, man, I felt like just exhausted, just absolutely exhausted.
I mean, mentally what you were doing is actually...
Agreed.
People don't recognize that. You use your brain a bunch, and that muscle will wear you out.
Agreed. Yeah, it was definitely a mental fatigue that, spread through the body. But, I made that change to working truly a full body experience. Like you're swinging hammers, you're swinging pipe wrenches, you're putting shit together, you're tearing shit apart.
People don't realize how physically taxing roughnecking is.
It's, I'm not a big dude for sure. I mean, but a lot of it takes a mental fortitude. I've seen a lot of dudes that are 8 times my size quit out after 7 days up there. They're like, my bones hurt. It's like, well, it's because you're swinging your hammer wrong. There's a sort of ingenuity to everything that goes on out there. Once you kind of figure that out, it makes things a lot easier. It makes things flow better.
My favorite thing that I learned was if you wouldn't put your penis there, why would you put your finger there?
Words to live by.
Yeah.
But, and one of the biggest things that I think a lot of people lack in the oil and gas industry is humility.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Nobody wants to ask for help. I'm that first guy. After swinging hammer unions for, 4 or 5 hours, rigging up, power truck, my shit hurts.
Yeah.
And I'll look to the guy next to me and be like, hey, man, take over. I'm going to go grab some water, and I'll bring you one. That's my way of asking for help.
The other side of that, though, too, is you're not an average supervisor. You're not a fucking wear a vest, sit in the truck, watch everybody. You get in the trenches. I
do to teach.
Yeah.
I did every job that my field requires of me when I was there those 20 days. I rigged up and I rigged down. I put pumps together. I put unions together. I put hoses together. I did everything that I needed to be done so I could teach those around me how to do it the right way first. I'd do it, and then I'd pass it off and be like, hey, you take a swing at it for a while. I'm going to grab us some waters.
Yeah.
And I made sure everybody knew. I'm not that supervisor who sees some guy do it the wrong way and says, get the fuck out of here,
Yeah. And that's always been my thing, is I've always had kind of I don't want to say like a resentment, but a distaste for people who tell me what to do, but I don't feel like they've ever done it or know really what I do. Like when I work jobs, especially graphic design's the one to get me. People are like, can you do this? I mean, yeah, I can do that, but you don't realize what, A, how much work that is, and B, it's going to look like shit. It's my job to know that. Like, people talk to me about fonts. Use this font. Use that. I was like, no, that's not easily readable. No, that's not this. No, that doesn't print well. This image, this thing. My favorite is getting on Reddit and hey, can you Photoshop this? And you like, I just want to Photoshop so this dude's like not standing in the background, and then you put him in the foreground. I love that there's so many people on Reddit that do that, because you don't realize the skill it takes to actually photo manipulate something.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that. And I love that shit. But there's so many people that hire me that don't know what I do, or don't know how hard it is to master something. Because they're so used to, we'll just make a sidechain and do this and let it do it for you. No, if you're really mastering, you got to do some work.
It's meticulous, man.
Yeah, it's note to note sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Image to image, line to line, track to track,
frame to frame.
It literally is, and it's thousands of minutes per track. Or dude, doing some of the voiceover things that I've done, that shit's hard.
I can imagine.
Because they're like, hey, we kind of did it in mix down. This guy's supposed to be walking into the other room. Can you fade it out?
We'll grab a water real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. I have moments where,
musically, the Mesa was a big one. Where, and this is the one universal that people have told me, like, yeah, you were a dick. You were hard to work for. You would yell, you would lose your temper, you would do, like, obviously we had financial problems. But I was the first one there and the last one to leave. I turned the lights on, I turned the lights off. I was there all day, every day. I did load-ins. Pinner was the same way. I remember one day I was doing a load-in. It was me and 2 people. It was supposed to be 11 people. Me and 2 people in the snow while Pinner was in the sewer with a blowtorch, so we had water when nobody else on the block did. Nobody had sewer. That was the commitment. I'm the fucking boss. I sit in an office, I book these, and I'm the guy doing that. That's what I love. Because no one's ever going to work for me like, well, he doesn't work as hard as we do. He doesn't know. The fuck I don't. I mean, yeah, I take that personally. I do actually take that personally. So when especially in the oil field, I had a very short experience in the oil field. I've worked with a lot of oil field companies in different aspects of photography, surveying, things like that. But actually being in the field, tripping pipe, doing that stuff was very, very short. Simply because I couldn't commit to a company knowing full well I'm leaving in a month to go on tour. It didn't feel right to me to go like, you're looking for me to make my life around this, and I didn't need. It's not. I'll work at this rig or I'll watch this well, and then I'm out. Because I have other shit that is my actual priority. And yes, that makes me kind of childish. It makes me a little bit petty. Mm-hmm. But I also make the decision not to let anybody rely on me when I know I'm not reliable. And that is an art form.
You gotta have your priorities, though. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And back then, I was making money doing music and touring and doing stuff. The same as, I'm always looking for work. And yeah, they look at me all gimped up like, we can hire you. But I get a lot of side work. Hey, there's a real estate agent who needs headshots. There's this person, can you go take pictures of this house? Can you do this? Can you build a website? Can you do a graphic? Can you do this graphic? Can you do this logo? It's the little side work. That's where I get on my work. And I look at the people I work with and the people that I work for, and about 80% of the people that I end up working with respect the fact that they know you are not my priority. I'm doing this job, and if you need something, hit me up. And I'm not going to hit you up and keep doing this for you unless you approach me. Because I want to go on tour. I want to go to these tattoo conventions. I want to go to these concerts. I want to do the things that I do with my cameras, with my sound system. That's what I do.
Well, it's what you love.
That's what fulfills me.
Absolutely.
Going and making harnesses and doing stuff and seeing the results. Having people do therapy, making books, doing horror shoots, doing special effects, all of that matters. And it takes a lot of time. Does it make me as much money as it used to? Fuck no, it doesn't. It barely makes me anything. But it will again. I'm doing all the side work to keep the lights on.
Absolutely.
And so when I'm working with people, especially when I have to hire somebody to like drive me or do stuff or help me out, that's usually what they tell me. They're like, you do everything that you want me to do. You just need me to hold shit, basically, right? It's like, yes, and you're still getting paid, fuck off. Because that's how I think bosses and management should be. And so when I was in the field, I learned day one. Somebody's going to get hurt every day. Maybe minor, maybe they pull a muscle, something. But somebody's going to get hurt or feel like shits every day. People are going to complain all the time. And there's going to be moments where I just want to lay down and cry. And it's simply just choosing not to let that take you over. I feel like that's oil work and mining, in my mind, are the greatest physical representations in labor force of what it's like to be bipolar.
Sure. I mean, I can definitely attest to that. I mean, I went from working wilderness, hiking every single day, working with my hands, covering 20 miles in a day with a 100-pound pack on my back, or bag on my back, to, oh man, I don't think I can do this for much longer. Going back to school, getting my engineering degree, and going to work for an engineering firm to where I knew I'd be sitting down and applying my mind and not necessarily, my muscles. And then after a few years of that, the kind of the yin and yang, that got to be monotonous, and that got to be something that I don't know how much longer I can do this for.
Right.
I gotta do something active. And
no, and I think that's my point. Is like you look at
it's hard to find that balance,
back
man.
And forth. And so when you do something that's that hard, the work crab fishing is another one. Like there's so many.
I would love to try that.
Not what you think it is. I'll tell you that right now.
I'd still love to try it, man.
Yo, dude, it's Alaska's fucking gorgeous. I'll say that. One thing is, Alaska, the amount of darkness was, for me, it's so dark, so long. The days are so much shorter. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. Such a fucking vampire moment, but it's true. I look at a lot of those things that people do, crab fishing, mining, oil. You work so hard. There's moments where you just want to give up. You want to give up on yourself. You want to give up on everybody around you. You don't matter. Nothing. And then there's moments where you feel like you're on top of the world when you finish a project. Payday. There's those. It's real up and down. And I know a lot of people that wonder, like, how do riggers make so much work? How do roughnecks make so much money? How do they do this? How do they do that? Is it really necessary? Yes. And there are a lot of other labor-intensive, in my mind, a lot of other labor-intensive jobs that you pay way better.
I agree.
Because Absolutely. They go through that same emotional... You want to know
Think
about
first responders.
Oh my God!
Like that's always my biggest argument. Like first responders should make as much as
ambulance drivers in particular, especially the ones that work for cities, not for private firms.
Yeah, absolutely.
They see the
horrendous things. I got to use my EMT when I was in the field.
You said that. You said something. We talked that day.
That was the day I almost wanted to cry.
I can see that.
I did on the way home. After I dropped him off at the hospital.
Yeah.
It was because that's something that I had been kind of so far away from for a long time. I mean, I always keep up on it. You know, I renew my EMT. I never let that lapse. But just the fact that this kid like tried to lie to me to stay there over and over again after I'm taking his vitals, I'm seeing his blood pressure, I'm seeing his pupils, I'm seeing all the signs of him moving into heat stroke. He's already had heat exhaustion. You know, he's fucking ghost white at this point. You can see every blood vessel in his eyes.
Jesus.
His pupils are shaking. You know?
Yeah, you don't fuck with the heat.
And
especially out there.
Oh yeah, because I mean we're at 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
And
you lose oxygen, you may never gain oxygen again.
You know, so I take him into our office shack. You know, I get some cool towels on the back of his neck. I start giving him sips of cold water, you know, and try to cool him down. And he's not getting better. You know, he pukes a couple of times. I'm like, all right, get in my truck. We're going down the hill.
Right.
You know, and I scream down that hill. 5 miles an hour, that hill's supposed to be. Doing 45. It's a dirt road.
Going up there, and see, I know that area. Like it's
screaming down that road.
Yeah, and it's.
And I hit the pavement, and I was doing 90 the rest of the way.
Yep.
You know, company truck, I didn't give a shit. I called Joe on my way. I was like, hey, man, that sensor's going to go off. And it's me.
Yeah.
That sensor's going to go off because I'm definitely breaking the speed limit right now. But one of your contractors is not in a good place right now. And I don't have the tools with me to help him the way I can.
And that's just it, though. Is that at least you could. What if you weren't there?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I'm on night shifts. I was on night shifts the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So, and this kid who got heat exhaustion, he's on day shift. And he didn't get it until kind of the end of his shift. And he'd already been having these onset symptoms for hours now.
God damn.
And so I get off my shift. I get relieved at 7 a.m. I drive back to the man camp, and I dive headfirst into my bed. You know, I'm dirt tired.
Yeah.
So, you know, I probably just hit my deep sleep, and I hear someone fling open my door. Because I mentioned it to a couple guys, like, hey, you know, if you have any type of emergency, you know, I'm an EMT. I can help to the best of my ability. I don't have my trauma bag with me or anything like that, but you know, I can consult the best I can.
There's first aid kits. We can do something.
Yeah, you know,
yeah.
I can do something. You know, I can at least orchestrate what needs to be done.
Right.
So, you know, my bedroom door flies open, and I just kind of roll over like, wow, you know, coming out of a deep sleep, and all I hear is, Kevin has heat stroke. One more time. Kevin has heat stroke. We need your help. My feet never hit the ground.
Yeah.
I'm on the top bunk, right?
Mm-hmm.
I landed in the hallway. Boxers. It's 32 degrees outside. But it was 88 degrees during the day.
Yeah.
Mountain temperatures. Fucking
it's nuts up there, yeah.
Crazy. So, and not a cloud in the sky. The sun's been beating down on them all day. After doing my ample, history check on him, it turns out all this kid's been drinking all day. He's 19 years old. All he's been drinking all day is those monster 0-calorie monsters and nothing else. He sucked down about 5 of them all day long. I didn't have a single drop of water. So I'm like, okay, that's why his symptoms are onsetting so fast, because he's got nothing.
There's nothing else there.
He's got nothing else there. And, I started doing, my primary evaluation on him. And halfway through my primary, I'm just like, I got to get him in the truck. There's nothing I can do here. He's going downhill quick.
Hostile, yeah.
There's nothing I can do here.
Yeah. Glenwood or Aspen.
I took him to Glenwood.
Yeah.
So, I dropped him off. I made sure, like, somebody came out, because I'd called already. There was some dude waiting out there with a wheelchair.
Good.
They got him in there. They stuck him with an IV, and they got him in a bed, and that's where I left him.
Yeah, but that's at that point. What else you can do?
But man, it was crazy, because after I had ran out of the man camp, everyone was just kind of standing around him, like,
Dude, that drives me nuts.
Like, what do I do?
Common. It's so fucking common that people don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah, it's like, what would you do? That's the easiest way to evaluate somebody who's in an emergency situation. What would you like to have done to you in that situation?
Yes.
And that's probably the right answer.
Cold towels, do this.
Cool them down. Their internal body temperature is slowly killing them.
Yeah. Well, hypothermia.
Yeah.
People go with hypothermia, like they start shivering. It was like, they're fucked. No, they're dying.
Yeah, that is your body actively dying.
Yeah, you're dying in front of them. Warm them up. Do something. Everybody get naked and cuddle. Something. Jesus. But okay. And this isn't just oil filled. This isn't so many people do not know basic medical. In school, we're taught to stop, drop, and roll. Like we're going to be on fire all the time.
Yeah.
They don't teach kids how to check a pulse.
Yeah. And it's very simple.
What blood pressure
in EMT class, it's your ABCs.
Yeah.
It's your airway, your breathing, your circulation, deformities, environment. It's very simple. That's your primary assessment when you show up. Are they breathing?
Yeah.
Well, they're breathing? Okay, cool. Is their airway clear?
Yeah.
Can they breathe? Yes? Cool. Are they breathing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Cool. Are they bleeding? Circulation. Now, do you see bruising happening, or are they bleeding internally?
Yeah.
You can break it down simply like that. And that's how you save someone's life.
Yeah.
Or at least know that they need higher care.
Maybe not save their life, but slow down the process of death even.
Absolutely.
So that maybe somebody who can save their life gets there. That's the stuff that kills me. Is that so many people? It's basic first aid. I have people all the time, and I don't know why. There are these wonderful things called search engines, and yet every day, and I am not kidding, every single day of my life, someone calls, texts something to ask me a question that they could easily look up themselves.
I hate to be that guy to be like, Google it. But sometimes, man, you should Google it.
Well, here's the thing. I have this rule, and Drummer used to say it all the time. He'd be like, hey, Google. And he would call me, and I knew the second he had some random question. And his was really fun, because he wanted to see if I knew something really obscure.
Sure.
Like, where was ketchup invented? China. Fuck you.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I know. Okay, I'm not Jeopardy smart.
Sure.
I'm not Jeopardy smart. I couldn't do what you do, the engineers. Nope. I'm good at math.
It's easy, man.
I'm good at math, but there's some things I can't apply to. But stupid shit that no one needs to know, Trivial Pursuit, or going to fucking, doing drunk trivia, I kill it. Fucking murder. I fucking murder. I am so good at that shit, because I know stupid shit nobody needs to know. I was in school. I was like, they put me on the team that was like, we're going to go as the science team, and you're like our, what the fuck is that question guy. and I'm sitting there not really paying attention. It's a weird one. Aaron Burr! Yeah, like, I knew shit like that, or weird commercial stuff, or like any like weird 60s trivia, or like Star Trek question. I just know weird shit. And the best part, my friend One Arm Doug, he's like the opposite side of me, so what I don't know, I can hit him up, and he usually knows it. And we've been doing that for years.
Very cool.
Like, it's funny as fuck. So every single day, somebody asks me something stupid. And the one question that I get at least monthly, if not more often, at least monthly, I would say 14 to 15 times a year is, how long can you survive without water? Or how can you survive without food? Rule of threes. You can say 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Mm-hmm. Pretty simple. I don't even know why I learned that in 6th fucking grade, but I did. I had a teacher tell us that. A science teacher told us that, and I've never forgotten it.
It's a good science teacher.
It was not part of the lesson. It was not just said, hey, just so you know. And I've never forgotten it. The reason I'm such a grammar stickler is that if you fuck up words in English and someone in another language tries to read it, you can really cause some problems. Because simple changes in English are major changes, batshit problems in other languages. I learned that in 4th grade. So yeah, I started taking spelling and grammar and punctuation really fucking seriously. Those kinds of things, basic first aid. I think, like, explaining blood pressure, explaining, and there are those people that's like, when you tell them, like, the air pressure in their tires, that's a fun one, because I do a lot of car maintenance for my friends. I love cars, I love doing it, they know that they can come by and hang out, and I teach them what I'm doing as I do it. It's not like I'm like, let me do it for you. It's like, hey, this is how you check this is how you fill your tires, this is how you check. The concept of pounds of air is very hard for many people to comprehend.
So, as kind of a caveat from that, I did the same thing when I was doing my primary evaluation on Kevin in the field. I was telling everyone around me what I was doing because it kind of gives me a little bit of peace of mind. It kind of keeps me calm, you know?
Well, for one, sometimes just saying it out loud, it's like you're refreshing yourself.
Absolutely, you know. And
listen to,
because I mean, I haven't practiced it in years, for sure. Yeah. You know, especially having to physically do it. You know, to actually have to do it in an emergency situation. Like, sure, I've done like in-service type of stuff where we practice on dummies and shit like that, or, you know, we'll use some makeup and make internal bleeding type of things. Where you have to identify kind of what's going on with the person and through a primary evaluation and whatnot. But that's all, you know, you can sit back and laugh during those moments, you know?
Yes, that's serious. It's not actual life-threatening.
Brad's fucked up. You know, you can have those kind of laughing moments.
The number of times, that episode of The Office where they have to do CPR, I feel bad laughing because I've had to go to those classes before. I did, and I did CPR training, you have to do all stuff, but keeping the certifications up. But the way that they act and the things that they do, I die I laugh so fucking hard because I'm like, they really aren't taking it seriously. They really don't give a fuck. And I would probably fire everybody if I was actually in charge of that. But then I think about, I'm pretty sure that I've never been to a CPR class where somebody wasn't dry humping a dummy.
Sure. When I went to my like basic first aid CPR class, like when I recertified for it, or even when you take your EMT again, you still have to recertify your CPR card. Sure, you know, the dude plays on what's that fucking song? The song that does like the perfect beats per minute for it. It'll fucking come to me. Yeah. But it's that song, you know, and everyone's singing it aloud, you know. It's funny, you know. Yeah, we make light of a situation.
Well, it's like when you go to an anatomy course, inevitably somebody's gonna fuck with the out, or they're gonna grab the skeleton and hey, here's my da, da, da. Yeah, no, there's those moments. Everything has a moment of levity.
Sure.
Everything. I am that person in really serious situations. I will crack the inappropriate joke. It's part of why. It's originally why I didn't go to funerals, because I am the guy who will make really inappropriate comments, and then it turned into I just really fucking hate funerals. So. But the same at weddings. I you know, if there is an embarrassing story, I am the guy who wraps the fucking groom's gift in porn just to start a fight.
Beautiful.
I will, if the embarrassing thing from 3rd grade that you thought no one knew, I'm telling that story to everyone, especially mom and dad of the bride. I'm that guy. I can't help it. So people don't invite me to weddings very often because they know that. And they know that if they invite me and I'm not a part of the actual wedding party, I'm probably going to wreak havoc.
Yeah, I'm going to interject myself somewhere.
Yeah. I will take the embarrassing photos. I will do, and I will release them. Because that's who I am. I saw the other day, there was this thing on TikTok, the lady like, man, the next one that leaves, I'm going with them, because I'm sick of my shit too. I felt that. I was like, man, there are a lot of times where I'm just like, man, fuck me. I don't even like me. I'm going to go with you. Y'all, yeah, leave me alone. I get it. So there are those things. I am inappropriate at times, but when there's a really serious situation going on, especially like the few times, and it sounds sick that I've been there so many times at people's last moments, or at a time when they're really wounded. My friend Mike, when his fingers got cut off, I was cracking jokes about, well, I mean, you never learned piano, maybe this is karma. I don't know what the fuck I said that to him, but he laughed for like 10 minutes.
Sure.
He was cracking up. He's like, you were such an asshole. I can't believe you fucking said that to me. Like, we watched a dude die, jump off a fucking bridge and plummet to the ground 90 feet below us. Just jump the fuck off right in front of us. And we're all just kind of looking there, and I was like, that's not base jumping. And everybody kind of, fuck, dude, what the? Because none of us were breathing. Like, we were in shock. And I was like, God, who's got a cell phone? Who's got a sat phone? We got to call somebody.
When you're dealing, and this is something that was told to me by my instructor, when you're dealing with a traumatic injury, like something that could put somebody into shock, it's very important to keep talking to them.
Yeah.
Whatever that dialogue may be, like, it was funny. Our instructor, Tony, fucking coolest dude in the world. He'd wear Tony the Tiger shirts.
Nice. Always quality.
He'd always do this thing where, as he was doing his primary evaluation, he would throw in the "you're so brave," and just at random times while he was doing his evaluation stuff like that, he'd be putting the traction splint on, pulling their fucking leg into place, and be like, "You're being so brave right now, buddy," and shit like that. Just interjecting these kind of funny little one-liners and stuff like that. And finally, somebody asked him, like, "Would you do that during this real situation?" He said, "Absolutely."
There's an EMT that got interviewed, and I want to say Chicago, but it might have been Detroit.
What a fucking place to be an EMT.
Oh, dude, yeah, right. Like holy shit. He got interviewed, and this was back in like 2002, 2003, and the story's always stuck with me. That he's this very attractive EMT. Just kind of ripped and cool looking and everything. And everybody's like, you need to be in the firefighter calendar. You need to be. And he's like, that's not what I'm here for. But he said there's times where he will flirt with people to keep them kind of giggling and laughing and keep them in the moment. And they said, does that ever work in a way that you don't expect? Because the best one is, I just administered some narcotics for a guy who's in pain. His leg was caught between the wheel and the wheel well, and it was caught there. And I was talking to him, we just administered, and they had to lift the vehicle. They had to brace it first, make sure it moved, and then lift it off because we couldn't just pull him out. And he said, maybe it's just the drugs, but man, you are beautiful. He said, well, I usually don't swing that way, but you know what? You get out of here, I'll let you buy me lunch. And they ended up talking as if they were planning a date. That story has always stuck with me.
Absolutely.
He just, in the moment, played the role and they were joking. They were cracking jokes, and they were being dicks, and they were being probably very inappropriate and extremely misogynistic about it. But
what he's really doing is keeping his respiratory rate up, and he's keeping his mind off the fact that he is
you're not freaking, you're not dying.
Messed up.
We're going to get you through this.
Yeah.
And the thing that bugged me about the story is they never said whether the guy lived. I'm assuming if he died, they would have included that in the story, or because I'm the negative guy, or the fact that if he didn't, they didn't want to make the story a downer. Right. But that's stuck with me for almost 20 years now, that story. And those moments when somebody gets like really hurt, like when you accidentally clock somebody in the head with something, you go to throw them something and it just like smacks their face. That moment of, I'm going to make this funny now. Like with kids, when a little kid falls, nobody cry, nobody freak out, don't do shit, don't stand up, no. Until they cry, they're fine, nothing just happened. It's that same mentality, but adult. If you can keep somebody doing what they need to keep going, and you don't give them that sense of doom, that's a huge, huge part of it. And I think that's why, like, for me, I've always been kind of oddly comfortable with being a prick in bad situations. But I think that's part of it, is there are those people that say things like, you're being brave, or, man, I can never do what you're going through. Holy shit, look how tough you are. Or,
that's not how you park a car, or saying those things that gets them talking and asking questions and paying attention and distracted. Distraction's key.
Absolutely.
But they don't. That's not taught in schools. That's not taught. That's why those guys were standing around with their thumbs in their asses, not knowing what the fuck to do, because no one's ever told them, okay, in a crisis, here's what you need to do. The only guy who did what he was supposed to do was come get you.
True. Yeah. I guess the only reason they didn't get me faster is they didn't realize what room I was sleeping in. I guess they busted down like 3 doors before they got to me.
Okay, I like that. I kind of like that. They're just like, hey, Sorry, Steve, go back to bed. What happened? Of course, then those guys wake up like, why the fuck did I get woke up? And they find out what happened. And they feel like dicks. Also quality.
Oh yeah, everyone was awake at that moment. Like when I was getting him into the car, there's probably 20 dudes, almost the whole pad of dudes, kind of just like standing around, like, it's gonna be okay,
Yeah. Well, and in a situation like that, normally on a rig or a fishing boat or a mine, it's because somebody was hurt. Hurt from an injury being on the docks if something falls and breaks your leg. You broke your leg. Heat stroke or anaphylactic shock or the things that you can't see. That's scary.
True, because the questions running through everyone's mind is what's going on. It's not visually apparent to them.
Yeah.
There isn't a bone sticking out of his leg, so it's like, oh, okay, that's what's wrong.
Yeah.
Or, his neck isn't, backwards. So it's like, oh, shit, that's what's wrong. It's something that he's just, he's breathing heavy. He can't complete a full sentence. He's ghost white, bloodshot eyes. If it was anybody else, he kind of looks a little hungover.
There you go. Did you
And-
pop a pill, bro? Do a little blow? Try to keep yourself up? Mething
Sure.
out? Those kinds of things. Those kinds of things
that's
come
what's
up
probably
more.
going through everyone's mind, but they don't realize, no, that's not at all what's going on.
It's just the knowing what to recognize.
Yeah.
That's the thing that. But, okay. Take that a step further. I feel like that is the case in most police-involved injuries. When a cop hits somebody or responds to somebody not recognizing when they're having a mental or emotional breakdown, they're just crazy. They're drugged up. They're this, they're that. I think over the years, it has turned into a normal situation of you just spend more time focusing on detaining the person than why do I need to detain this person? And there are cities changing that. I would give it, especially after a lot of the things with Black Lives Matter and things that, that I do not prescribe necessarily to all cops are bad. I know some great cops. I have some friends who are cops. But I also tend to not trust the constabulary in any way. I don't. I have a problem most times. If you've been a cop, you've been a great cop. Because you're not a jock. You don't have some superior complex. You would literally walk into a situation and analyze and evaluate before you took any action. You're not a shoot first, ask questions 2 weeks later kind of guy.
So, when I talked earlier about, the ABCs of health, the last one on that list is the environment. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer that should be the first one. You can tell a lot about what's going on in a scene by what's around,
Smell, hear, sight.
Absolutely. Use your senses, does it smell a little funky? Is there carbon monoxide in there? Is that why people are acting crazy? Is that why the homeboy's passed out in the corner? There's a lot more that can be read from the scene than just what is visually apparent. Mm-hmm. An unconscious person on the ground, or someone who is distraught.
Yeah.
What happened 5 minutes earlier? Those are the kind of questions you need to ask yourself and then ask them.
What led up to this moment?
Yeah,
because something might be apparent to you, and you immediately go, well, and they always say in medicine and in crises, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras, and yet everybody thinks zebras. They do. It's like inherent in their nature to go immediately to the ridiculous.
Sure.
And I think that's something that's translated a lot. Obviously, I don't have the answer on what to do with police force in the United States. I don't have answers to do what to do. But I like that they started having social workers and mental health care workers go with police to any distressed person. Okay,
I agree.
Doing it in Denver, and it's been working really well.
As it should. I mean,
they're literally like, I mean, their cases of arrest, their cases of unlawful arrest or unlawful detainment has gone down. And most importantly, no cops have been hitting people. They haven't been tackling them and throwing them to the ground. They haven't been hurting them. People die doing that.
I mean, it's important. Like, people are just people being people. You know,
right.
There's so many different personalities out there. Like, what could be aggressive to you could be perfectly common normal to somebody else. You know, it's all.
Well, and you've seen it yourself. How many times have you been working a door or something at a bar or working the club or doing something, and 1 minute everything's great and some guy's a crack and a joke, and the next moment they're punching the fuck out of each other, and then 10 minutes later they're buying each other beers. You know, it's the response of, hey, what the fuck just happened? You see those moments and you anticipate them. There are many times where I feel like, that's why, like, I have never been a huge fan of the fact that many police forces don't let people freelance and go do guard work and go, you have to fill out paperwork. You have to ask for the ability to work more and go help people in bars, clubs, private security, things like that. You have to put in requests to allow for that. That to me, it's like, if you are a good cop, if you are somebody who can recognize problems and diffuse situations, you're going to be a cop 24/7, whether somebody's allowing you or paying you to do it anyway. I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people miss that. And it's not just, I mean, it's teachers.
Yeah. My brother-in-law actually told me a story. I was up in the mountains when this happened. He was driving from his home in Loma into Junction for work. And he's driving, you know, and he comes across this car on the side of the road. You know, no hazard lights on, nothing. Doors open. Leg hanging out of it.
Like on I-70?
Yes.
Okay.
And people are driving by. Just driving by. He stops. He was a ranger in the U.S. Army. He was a combat medic.
Okay.
You know, he stops. He gets out. He walks up to the front, or, you know, the door, and asks, "Hey, ma'am, are you okay?" It was kind of an older woman in her later 50s, maybe 60s, and she was unresponsive. So he immediately goes, airway, check to see if she's breathing. She wasn't breathing. Goes for circulation. She didn't have a pulse.
Jesus Christ.
So, and judging by swelling in the pupils, and
if you got fixed and dilated,
you know,
and there's
and this thing, you know, just kind of the little things you can see.
Nature.
She had been there for hours.
Jesus fuck, and nobody stopped.
Nobody stopped. Nobody's paying him to stop and check on people. If that was me, I'd have done the same thing. I've done it multiple times, and I've gotten cussed out by people who were just sitting in their car trying to take a nap.
Yeah,
you know,
but it's worth checking.
Absolutely.
When I nap, sometimes people will knock on my windows, and there was like, I'm like, no, thank you,
you're
making sure I'm good.
Absolutely,
and
you know?
It's carbon monoxide poisoning or something. Like, I get that. I do. I appreciate that. I'm very weird because I am the type of person, I don't like to get involved. I don't. I'm not
it's a hard choice.
I'm not
sometimes,
anti-confrontation.
For sure.
I'm not anti-confrontation. If there's a confrontation, but I grew up with the concept that if you see something wrong and you don't do something about it, you are just as at fault as the person doing the wrongdoing.
That's kind of how I've always felt too, especially after getting my EMT. I feel morally responsible. Like, if I see an accident happen, this actually happened when I was working construction. We were on our way to a job site in Delta, and I saw some guy, you know, he was in the middle lane, you know, going to turn left into some sort of business, something like that, and he just T-bones this car. Absolutely T-bones. Car spins out like 3 or 4 times. This guy's truck kind of flips onto its side, and I wasn't driving. I was in the passenger seat, and our lead driving, he was just like, "Oh, that's crazy," and just keeps looking and going forward. And I said, "Stop the fucking car."
Yeah.
And he said, "We're on the clock right now." And I was like, "I don't give a shit. Call Chris. Stop the fucking car."
Yeah.
And he did, finally, and turned around. Everyone was okay, but I was the first one there. People were still just driving by.
In our wreck?
And I had already started calling 911, you know.
In our wreck, the big one that was me and Cody and Skyler, a Navy medic and an Air Force officer were the 2 people who stopped within seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And they were making sure Skyler didn't stand.
And they were they gave the most lucid account of everything that happened, to a point where it was almost like, because they were separated, talking to two different cops, and then they compared notes, like, it's the same how the fuck did they do that? It's like, that's military training.
Yeah.
That's what that is. I'm in a crisis situation, I need to say something here. And they did. They said we couldn't have stopped. I mean, we couldn't have not stopped. It was one of those things. And there were cars going by. Everybody slowed down to almost a crawl, not because they were looking for it, they realized somebody's out of that car, and the other cars, what the fuck, like, it was a bad wreck. By far the worst I've ever been in. But knowing that there were people there helping Skylar before I was even out of the vehicle helped me.
Feels good. Yeah.
It helped me. Before the cops, before we heard the first siren, there were people helping. That made me feel good. My wife and I, way back, 20 years ago when I was married, my wife and I were driving we lived in Wichita. And I don't know if you've ever driven in Kansas.
Nope.
People talk about black ice in Colorado. In Kansas, that's just ice. That's the roast. If it's cold, your car's a hockey puck. And we're driving along doing 25, 30 in a 65. Going pretty slow.
Right.
But there's other cars, and we're all kind of going the same speed limit, kind of going the same rate. And this one car kind of went to go past me. And it's 3 lanes. 135 there splits into 3 lanes, and we're in the middle lane, and it went past. And all of a sudden, I see the lights start to waver, and I realize the car next to me. So I just pulled off the accelerator, and she turned sideways. And it was pointed at us, and then went in front of us, and then went next to us, and then slid off the side of the road.
Oof.
And my wife was just freaking out. How did you not hit her? How did you know? I was like, I saw her lights. That's what tipped me off, was the lights, and it made me let off the accelerator. I didn't brake because I didn't want to wreck.
Oh, yeah.
But
You'd have been in the same situation.
And I pulled over. All the other cars kept going. I pulled over, and I walked back the 50, 60 feet to her, and I was like, ma'am, you okay? She goes, pretty sure I went backwards and looked right at you. I was like, oh, yeah, we made eye contact. And she's just like...
We had a Top Gun moment.
Yeah, I mean, and she's like, I feel like... I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. I was like, you might not have.
You didn't.
Who knows if you did or you didn't? But nobody got hurt. Are you good to drive? She goes, oh, hell no. We gave her a lift to the next gas station. And she called somebody to go get her car and help her drive home. Turns out she actually lived in North Park, not that far. She was actually 2 doors down from BTK. That's where she lived. Fun facts.
Nice.
Yeah. When I look at the situations that in that situation, my wife looked at me and she was just like, why did you stop? She screwed up. I'm like, no, not necessarily. We don't know. We don't know what happened. Nobody got hurt and everything. I just want to make sure she was okay. She goes, why would you stop? I was like, I always stop. The people I grew up with, we always stop. We always checked on each other. So you saw a wreck, you saw a kid wreck their bike, you jumped out and you helped them. That's what you do. And maybe that's small town mentality, but when I grew up, we knew our neighbors. I never had to worry about being in trouble from my mom when I got home from school. It was the 8 moms between the bus stop and my house who were going to beat my ass. I knew that growing up. It's changed a lot. I get that it's changed a lot. And this is still 20 years ago. Fast forward 6 months, we're in Colorado, getting ready to move back. And we're driving right by Ruleson Parachute, that area. Oh, yeah. And a car slids over. We see it flip. It's like 800 yards ahead of us. But we see it going up the hill there, and it's rolling. And I immediately start to see smoke. Everybody starts peeling off, doing stuff, freaking out, stopping. I weave through traffic. I get as close as I can, and I pull up and stay in the fucking car. And I ran across the lanes, and I pulled people out of the car. I didn't realize what I was doing until the third person was getting out. And there was another dude on the other side doing the exact same fucking thing. We sat with them, we pulled them out, we got them moved. And yeah, I know you're not supposed to move somebody, but the car was smoking. I thought it was going to light on fire and explode.
Well, I'm a firm believer of life over limb.
Yeah.
So I would have pulled them out as well.
Yeah, we pulled them out, we dragged them down, we get them far where I assumed I've seen some cars blow up, so we got pretty far away. We made sure that nobody was really bleeding, and there's some people, I pulled part of my shirt and tied. The dude that was helping on the other side, turns out had some medical training, I don't know what, but had medical training and actually had brought it. He was running with a pretty nice first aid kit. He was actually bandaging people and doing stuff. It was 20 minutes before the ambulance got there before the state patrol did, which blew my mind.
Yeah, that blew my mind too.
And I get back to the car and my wife looked at me, she goes, that's why you stopped that night in Wichita, because it could have been that.
Could have been that. You never know, man. People have died of fender benders. Yeah. People have lived through rolling their car 20 times.
Weirdest death I've ever seen was a guy who fell 3.5 inches and died. He was working on it. It was in Aspen. He was a plumber. He was moving a piece of
pipe fitting into place, and he slid off the concrete and hit the back of his head and died. Slid 3 inches, just hit a pebble just right, and it killed him. 3 inches and died. While he was in the room, didn't even notice what had happened until the other guys were yelling, like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Turned around and was like, oh shit. Like, those are weird moments. I've seen people, I've watched a friend of mine get hit by a fucking train. Fine. Cut on his head. That wreck that me and Cody and Skylar in? Skylar breaks his back, breaks his pelvis, breaks his hip, all sorts of damage, cuts, has a stick basically through half his body. Oof. I break my leg, I break my ribs, I crack my sternum, I dislocate my collarbone, my toes are screwed up, I am fucked up. Cody got a cut on his ear and a little tiny cut on his leg, and that was it. We flipped that car over, there was no top to that car. It was inside the car. None of us should have lived. The fact that we're all, I mean, I'm not okay. Skylar he'll have back pain the rest of his life. There are days where he can barely move. But we're alive. We think, well, of course, he said this years ago, and it's fucking morbid, but he said, you ever think maybe we died in that accident and we're just in hell? And everybody's just being really nice to us about it. And I kind of went,
life's all about perspective.
I was like, oh, that's so fucking dark, but I kind of like it. Because it is. It's dark as fuck. But yeah, we lived, we're still doing it, and that's just it. Is when the anniversary came this year, it wasn't that big of a deal. Usually, like, last year, Cody called me, and he kind of was just sad. I was like, what's up? And he's like, was there anything I could have done? He never asked me that. I was like, fuck no, Cody. The wheel fell off. The wheel fell off the car, mechanical failure, and the airbags never went off either. In my mind, he saved our lives because he didn't freak out. He didn't overcorrect. He didn't do anything wrong.
You know, it took me 2 years to call Jake's dad.
I'm not surprised.
I did the same thing. I asked him, did I do enough? Could I have done more?
In those situations, it's even harder because the night Dermer died, he was at my house. We had rehearsal, and that was actually the first time we'd ever filmed Joe, our bass player. I told you this story, actually, that we always felt bad because, like, Joe was a huge part of the band, but nobody ever saw him, and then, yeah, it's the first time I filmed him. We were filming to go a little sneak peek, like, there's Joe. And we just gotten some really good tour news, and we were, like, really excited because we had, drummer and I had been recording a bunch of shit while he was teaching Joe all the parts, and we were getting him locked in, and got hold of the album ready to go. Like, as soon as Joe was ready, it's like, we're writing and recording a 13-song album. It's ready to go. And nobody knew it but me and Drummer. We hadn't told anybody. Not our engineers, not our mastering people, nobody. Nobody knew what the fuck we were doing. And I really kind of looked at that, and then we did that with great practice. Rehearsed for like 3 hours. We had the coolest rehearsal space in Drummer's house. He'd written fucking sayings and shit all over. Every time something funny happened or something random happened, we'd record it on there. Posters, all sorts of shit. It was more than home. It was like the one place on the planet where I was like, man, I could just stay here forever and never feel weird about it.
Best band practices we ever had, and with Jason, like all the musical endeavors we went through, was in the storage unit.
Right? It's just, you're sweating, you're dying, you don't want to be there.
Oh so God! Fun. Some of the best times I think I might have had my whole life. We're in that fucking 8x10 box.
People don't get that. They don't get that whole commitment of we're fucking deafening each other in this little tiny metal box. Like, we get spoiled now when we sit and look with our fucking electronic kits and all the shit we got, and the fact we can turn up, turn down, record. I can send you stuff and you're in another fucking city. You know, we can do that now. But when you're in a band and you got that commitment, like, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And we were all happy and having a good time, and he was going like, I'm going to go watch the Nuggets game over Wingnuts and see Danny. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm like, cool.
Oh,
he and Joe go grab a couple of beers. They watch the game. He gets Joe home. He goes down to Tiermeister's. He has a beer. He sends me a hilarious picture of him with this fucking iced out beer. And then the next morning, he's dead. I got the call, when Kenny called me, he was early. I was like, how? How did that change so much from having this great time to gone?
It's a blink of an eye.
And suicides and medical deaths
and unsolved murders or missing persons, they're, to me, and maybe I'm not with a lot of people on this, but to me, those are some of the worst experiences. I need to know why. Because I'll never get, every suicide I've dealt with, I can't get over. Even when they left a note explaining what they were going through, even when they've told people, I can't wrap it. And I'm a suicidal person. I have attempted. And I can't understand why. I've watched people get murdered. I've watched people die brutal fucking deaths. And I've watched people commit suicide. And I still can't wrap my head around it. Even when I get some answers, sometimes it's just not, maybe it's not the answer I wanted, but it's not enough of an answer. It doesn't feel like the whole answer. And I never, and the way my brain works, it's two things. My memory's fantastic. It's not truly eidetic, but it's there. I can recall lots of times what people were wearing. I can usually do a conversation verbatim, the back and forth. I can do that stuff. I've always took pride in that. But the other side of that is that there are times where I close my eyes and I see really horrible shit. Right behind my eyes, there's that guy falling or that shotgun going off, and they don't go away. I can't make them go away. There's many, many times where I'm so grateful that my drug problems were so short-lived that I've been clean for so many fucking years. Because, man, I'd probably be one of those dudes in the corner of an alleyway fucking scratching my own skin off. And I know that. Missing persons fuck with me really hard. Really hard. I have a hard... And people I don't even know. I don't have to know. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the experience. I don't like what it means. I don't like when you have to fucking go through and try and explain to somebody like, well, we don't really know what happened, and maybe it was this, maybe it was that, and maybe there's this, trying to piece together. The sick part is I kind of like the puzzle, but I don't like not knowing.
It's like you have the pieces, but you're missing just one or two pieces, you know?
Yeah.
And the important ones.
Like, I can accept that I will never know what God means. I have my own concepts, and
sure.
I have my own ideas of faith versus religion versus science versus energy versus... I have what I'm comfortable with, what I believe. I'm okay with not knowing, because we're not supposed to know. It's kind of a big thing to not care about having the answers for. I don't believe in absolute truth. That's kind of a big deal. And yet these other things haunt me. Truly haunt me.
I think it's that fear that you can't know.
Maybe it is that. And maybe it is that. I don't experience fear or doubt the way other people do. So,
I mean, the fear of unknowing is one of the biggest fears you can have.
See, but like when people talk about like I don't want to go to the ocean because like I spent hours. I mean, I did paranormal investigating for years. I still do it sometimes, fucking around. Like I say, fucking around. Okay, disclaimer: don't fuck around and do this shit. It's real. It's not something to be played with. If you don't understand it, don't fuck with it. You know, don't go up to a fucking sleeping bear and poke it with a stick. You don't go to a fucking spirit and go, hey, I'm gonna piss you off. Hey, here, demon boy, let me fucking give you something and piss you off.
Get fucked with in mysterious ways for a long time.
Yeah, like don't fuck with that shit. But I say I fuck around, but no, like I still get involved. I still look at those things. I still investigate. I'm right now planning a cemetery trip. Like we're doing a full tour of touring some of the most notoriously haunted and dark cemeteries in the U.S. We're going to do it next spring. And there's already like 6 or 7 people like, we're in. This is going to be fun as hell. We're going to load the van and we're going to fucking go. We're starting in Arizona and we're going all the way up into Maryland.
Oof.
It's going to be a fun one. It's going to take about 15 days. But it's going to be fun as hell. And I'm excited for it because I want to do that. And I want to take all my gear and get my Ovilus out and get all my gear and take my fucking red pictures and take my Dark Knight and watch all these things. I love that shit, getting the parabolics out. Alien stuff has always, since I was a little kid, fascinated the shit out of me.
I agree.
My family is from Salida, which is one of the cattle mutilation capitals of the world. I grew up hearing, we saw the lights again last night. I've seen them. I've been out to Skinwalker. I've been out near Frog, Blind Frog. I've looked at these places. I've been in areas where you can sit and watch lights every night. I was in LA and watched, I saw what I thought was a UFO, and the next day it was on the news. I've been in those situations. There are things we don't know. And I can believe in those and accept that I don't know what they are. I don't know what Bigfoot is. I don't know what the Loch Ness Monster is or was, since there haven't really been that many sightings. I don't know what, Champ is. I don't know, if there are skunk apes. I don't know if there's chupacabra, or I don't know. Maybe I never will. I don't feel the need to know those things. When they find new species, I'm always excited, but I'm never surprised or I need to know that. I'm sure there are still at least thousands of species of plants and animals in the Amazon we've never seen.
Think about our oceans.
Right. Mysterious creature scene. No, it's probably just a creature. It's not that mysterious. We just think it is because we don't know what the fuck it is.
And so much of our oceans is undiscovered. Millions of creatures that we've never encountered could be just living their day-to-days down there.
All right, Captain Engineer, let's throw this one in because this is a fun one for me. Only a select few people have actually been to space. And it's smaller than anybody thinks because the International Space Station is closer to the surface of the Earth than here to Denver.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of people, I can put that in visual perspective.
Yeah.
So, let's say this is the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
How far do you think the International Space Station is?
Right up next to it.
This far?
Oh, not even.
This far?
Not even.
This far?
Get closer.
Oh,
yeah.
There.
Yeah.
You know?
We can still see it. We can
Real
see
close.
the satellites.
How far do you think the moon is, comparatively?
That's shoulder. Oh, there. I was saying. Okay, yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
You know?
Those people, the Apollo missions, they've been into space.
They've been into space.
They've been into space. All these people, I do not want to knock the fact that a bunch of civilians just went into space. That's awesome. Right. I fucking dig that.
Go Bezos.
But they went into space, not outer space. Not very many people have actually made we're escaping the pull of the gravity of the planet. Very, very few people.
Right.
That are ever on this planet, much less the people that are.
That's what you got to think about. The International Space Station is not really in space; it's in orbit.
Mm-hmm.
It's traveling about, what is it, fucking 24,000 miles an hour?
Yeah. Ridiculous.
In order to maintain escape velocity.
Yeah.
So they're just on a wild. I mean, they're on a wild ride around.
They're in a rocket without the fuel going.
Yeah.
That's what they're on.
Absolutely. When those Apollo in space. Those astronauts went to space, they were in nothing.
Yeah, there was no pull. I remember reading, what was his fucking, Jim Lovell? Lovell? Is that his name? The Apollo 13 captain. Is it Jim Lovell? God, I hope I'm not fucking that up. I know it's Jim, but I can't, God damn it. I'm just being stubborn and not looking it up.
The most important person I know of that whole operation is Emily Marome, and she was the chief engineer who wrote all the code that sent Apollo astronauts to the moon. Mm-hmm. That stack of paper was as tall as she was. Yeah. She was about 5'8". And that stack of paper, I have a picture of it on my phone.
Where they took the quote-unquote our black employees, and then all of a sudden they started doing there's a movie about it, and it's amazing. It's a fucking phenomenal movie. I saw it when it came out, and I've seen it a few times since, and it continues. The fact that Buzz Aldrin and some of these guys are like, well, what'd she say about the math? Trusting them, and they're like, seeing the racism that was involved still, even in NASA at that time. At that time, the most scientifically advanced organization on the planet was still blacks can be here in this one spot, and that's it. It's just, it's weird, but those are the people who kept the astronauts alive. Those are the people that were part of those engineering teams that kept it. And people don't realize when you think engineer, especially aerospace engineer, it's not. It's team.
Absolutely.
Brilliant minds.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's kind of one of the things that bothers me. I mean, you've heard of Mozart.
Right.
Can you name a single person in his band?
No. No, and that
sure,
that,
he was a great musician and great composer,
but
he was backed up by a plethora of people.
You know that Astronaut in the Ocean song?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Did you know that's a Mozart song?
Is it really?
He read it when he was like 3.
Makes sense.
That's fucking serious. It's one of his very, very early pieces, and they started realizing he was a prodigy. But yeah, that song is actually it's the same melody, same harmony, everything. It's something he wrote.
Interesting.
See, like I say, I know weird trivia, pointless, but know it. There is a level of that, like I get mad. I can't watch award shows. I can't.
Why is that?
Because the numbers, and I sound like such a fucking pretentious asshole when I say this. But I'm gonna do it anyway.
Do it.
Goose Fraba. Whenever I hear someone, I'm just grateful to God for giving me the talent to be where I am today. Why do you thank God for bringing you the coach, the trainer, the mother, the father, the sister, the brother who had to fucking probably not get as much attention because you were getting pushed up, the people who played on your team, the people who actually pushed you, that kid who was better than you that challenged you to actually be better when you were fucking 9 years old? How would you thank those fucking people? You want to thank God for putting those people in your life. Don't thank God for your talent. Thank it for the drive and the team of fucking people that put you there. I can't stand it.
There's nothing pretentious about that. That's fucking fact. You know, that's
I don't want to say, like, I don't.
That's just what it
when
is.
people thank God or they pray to God or whatever, like, when people are like, prayers will heal. Okay, prayer does heal.
The doctor's going to do a way better job of it, though.
Because God taught the doctor to go to fucking school to fix your ass. Like, that is actually how my brain works. As far as, like, if you want to believe in God, believe that God put the people in place to fix you.
Yeah.
To help you,
sure.
to drive you, to compel you, to stimulate your mind, to stimulate your body, to move you forward. People come into your life when they are necessary. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. That is how that works. I believe that. So if you want to believe that that's God, or you want to believe that that's fate, or you want to believe that that's karma, or predetermination, predestination, any of those things, believe what you want, but be real about it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't become a supervisor in my position because I prayed a bunch and it happened. No, it's because Joe Barton told me I was shit at the job I was doing so many times that it clicked and I needed to be better. I needed to, within myself, tell myself, I need to do better. I need to be better at this, and I will and I can.
Right.
And I did.
There you go.